This episode of the Skift Podcast features a discussion from a recent online Skift event. To join us and learn more about future Skift events, visit live.skift.com. Please welcome the CEO and President of MGM Resorts International, William Hornbuckle, in conversation with Skift hospitality reporter Cameron Sperance.
Good day, Bill. Thanks for joining us. How's it going?
Great, Cameron. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks for joining us. I want to jump right into a topic that the virtual halls of Skift have grown tired of hearing me talk about, and that's the world of concrete. Major event, normally 50 or 60,000 person conference just hosted in Vegas. All eyes, particularly my own, were on it just to kind of see how eager people were going to be to get back to citywide conventions. I know attendance wasn't expected to be back to full normal last week, but I mean, what were your takeaways of how that event went, and how does it make you read the tea leaves going forward towards a recovery for the greater hospitality industry, but especially your fair city of Las Vegas?
Yeah, fundamentally, nothing has changed. We're in an environment here where visitation, look, we're selling out 80, 90% weekends, 70, 80% midweek, and growing consistently. It was the first group back. And if you think about that particular profile in that event, it normally has 50 or 60,000, as you suggested. It had a little over 10,000 that came in. Reality is it's scheduled every January. It's coming back next January. For that particular industry, January is buying season, summer is pouring season. And so literally many of the folks were out working. And so we're just not concerned with it. We have other groups that have come in and they'll have like-minded varying things. Some are oversold, some are going to be the same, meaning in the context of what happened in the world of concrete. We have another one here at MGM at Mandalay Bay, which, we have a large facility as well. It's a surfaces convention. That one will be about 50%. Same kind of reason. It's coming back in January again. And so I think for the next 12 months, we're going to see some ebbs and flows. But I think for the destination, what's really important is that whether it's ebbing or flowing, the bottom line push for leisure travel and just the return to escape and tourism in general in Las Vegas of note, it's been incredible. And I think it'll continue to be incredible for the balance of the year. I think 22 will begin to stabilize. Hopefully we bring back international visitation at that point in time. And, I think by this time next year, then you'll get a true measure of group activity and what COVID may or may not have meant to attendance, large and or small. I would say this, though, when you sell product, concrete's a great example, surface is a great example, you need to be live. The idea of, maybe getting small meetings in an environment like we're currently on now is one thing. But when you have large products to sell, CES, concrete, surfaces, and many other things that Las Vegas enjoys hosting, it's a different environment. I think one fundamentally that won't change over time.
Great. Well, I mean, on that note, a year ago, we were all saying leisure travel would come back first. I think this summer it's going to be a lot better than anyone was expecting. Yes. Then business transient, and finally group and convention. But in recent months, there have been murmurs and outright discussion on investor calls from various hotel companies that convention and group might actually leapfrog over the expected business transient recovery. I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, are you a little bit more optimistic about group and convention coming back, or where do you see things going?
We are here, but remember our profile is a little different. I mean, we do large scale groups. We do citywide events, and again, concrete's is an example. Individualized corporate travel is less of a thing here. Leisure is leading the way. Group and corporate at scale will come back. We think association business will be large in first. We think corporate America will show up. Our tech industry, which is such a large piece of the business here in Las Vegas, and particularly for MGM Resorts, it's about 40% of our room nights. For 22 has more room nights on the books today than it did in 2019. And so if you look at 22 and 23, we're up single digit, like 105, 108% over where we were in 19. And again, I think the important part is that fundamentally, major tech companies, corporate America is going to show up back in Las Vegas, and I think other destinations. I don't think that piece is going to change. Small meetings may take some time. It's easier to do this for 25 people, or individual travel, corporate travel for sales and things of that nature may take some time. But I don't know in the long run that anything is going to change. And I do believe for the next 18 months, the void, the delta, particularly in a vacation destination, tourist destination like Las Vegas, is going to be more than satisfied. And we've in the last 90 days, we've just seen it literally on fire. It's been incredible. Around events, a lot of our event program is off to the races. Things are literally selling out in 20 minutes, like 18,000 seat venues. It's great. Thank God America's coming back with a vengeance.
Absolutely. It's what we like to hear. I do want to focus more on looking ahead, but I did want to rewind a little bit just to kind of, for our audience, put things into perspective. I mean, you've been with MGM Resorts for a while now, but officially named CEO last summer. I mean, talk about how do you make a mark on the top job like that, coming in when you did, when the typical drivers that make the business hum, or at least some of the typical drivers that make the business hum, like conventions, entertainment, inbound travel, are pretty much at a standstill. And I mean, how do you navigate through that from day one?
Look, at battlefield promotion, clearly. 1 week I was handling COVID from an operational perspective. The following week I was acting CEO. And it didn't slow down; it stopped outright. In late March of last year, we were completely closed. We laid off about 63,000 employees in about 12 days. It was painful. It was very painful. But Las Vegas has seen its ups and downs. We suffered the tragedy of 10/1. We suffered the Great Recession. With 9/11. And I've seen a lot of those ebbs and flows, nothing to this degree where we were outright closing all of our doors. It did give us a chance to rethink the business, to talk about, how to regroup the business and how to go forward. And we took that opportunity to do all of that. And so I know, with the exception of our balance sheet, we're going to come out of this a much healthier company from an operating perspective. We feel really good about how we're going forward. And thankfully, our board had the foresight a couple of years ago to sell down. We basically formed a REIT, so we're an asset-light company, and so our liquidity is large, and so we're sitting on roughly $6 billion and thinking about the future and what to do with that, which is exciting. And now that with a couple of exceptions, Detroit, Michigan, still at 50% occupancy levels. Empire, our casino right outside of New York City, is about the same. With those two exceptions, everything's back full bore. And come July 1st weekend here, or the 4th weekend, our events are back. The O Show opens up by way of example. And so in the full entertainment complement, if you will, that we've always enjoyed is back in full force come July. But it's been a hell of a year, and it's been a long year. And labor is an interesting thing. Some of our people have rethought life, how to think about hospitality, how to think about their careers. Others are motivated to do more within the company, and so we've been giving those opportunities across the board. But it's been a very interesting year, one I don't look to relive, but one that I don't think I know we're going to come out a stronger company, because we've already begun to experience that over the last couple of months.
Yeah, but I mean, we've been talking about labor quite a bit, and I mean, it's kind of hard to think that just in a matter of weeks, it went from people wondering if hotel jobs are ever going to come back to we're right back to that pre-pandemic hospitality story of labor shortages left and right. I mean, what are you doing there? I mean, I know there's always the question of wage inflation, and I mean, also the idea that a lot of these workers may have left the industry altogether. So, I mean, how do you get people back at a time when it's pretty competitive to staff up?
And look, it's always been competitive, and this summer we have the added competition with resorts down the street, opening a 3,000-room hotel, which is great for the overall market and the destination. Yeah. It continues to expand and tell the story. We're a couple thousand employees short. Any normal time frame, we usually run about 1,500 openings. We're probably pushing 2,000 right now, and it's really isolated to about 5 or 6 key categories: some culinary categories, some housekeeping categories. Security, interesting of note. And we're doing everything. We're not pushing up wages in general. We are bonusing folks to come on board, and things at one time hopefully bring them back. And as I think we see some of the government subsidy, some of the unemployment fold away, if you will, or slow down, go away. You'll see more and more come back to work, and as less concerns about the health and safety for themselves, their family, et cetera. And as school got back, and one of the challenges we had early on this spring was all of our school system wasn't back in play. And so working mothers literally had childcare issues. And so it was a challenge. and there will continue to be a challenge, I think, throughout the summer. But I can't imagine over time. I think all of Southern California seems to be moving here, and so I think over time we're going to be just fine.
Good to hear. You mentioning the future of the company, a major growth conversation surrounding MGM over the last year has been online gaming via the BetMGM platform. You even had Barry Diller's IAC investing in the company just based on the prospect of online gaming. And, to use your words on an investor call a couple months ago, we think this is where the industry is going. We want to be a larger part of it. There have been some really impressive numbers. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I think on that first quarter investor call, it was said that BetMGM's revenues could hit $1 billion, which is pretty striking considering last year it was $178 million. So, what does that say about the future of the company? And also, what does that say for resort demand? Do future hotels get smaller because more people are staying at home gambling, or what is this? How should we read this?
No, to answer the last question first. But let me look. Next year we believe we'll do $1 billion in NGR, principally through sports betting. iGaming's now in 5 states. We've had the good fortune of being number 1, 2, or 3 in either sports betting or iGaming in all of the 12 states we're in. We see that growing to 20. There are several states that currently have legislation pending this spring, this fall. And so we see it as a critical part of the industry going forward. It's one that I also believe there'll be 4 or 5 key contenders. And I think the balance of the industry will be gobbled up, if you will, over time. We are in it for the long haul. We think it's absolutely important that fundamentally it's part of who and what we are as we go forward, both domestically and potentially globally. Look, I've been hearing this for 30 years, that first tribal gaming and then riverboats and all the regional casinos, they've all become, if you think about it, feeders for Las Vegas. We peaked out at 46 million visitors. It's a way to have arguably consistent contact with customers. It's a way to motivate and incentivize customers to come to Las Vegas or any of our resorts for that matter, whether it's in Maryland, Mississippi, Detroit, etc. And so we see it as completely additive. We see it as an incremental way to reach and touch customers on a consistent basis and invite them out. And I don't see it as predatory at all. To the contrary, I see it as expanding the reach and getting people engaged and understanding product that they might not otherwise understand. And the notion, particularly for this community, meaning Las Vegas, where I just literally left a meeting with all the athletic directors at the Pac-12 down at Raiders Stadium. The enthusiasm around bringing programming to this community at scale for events and bowl games is unprecedented. We've seen it with our own Golden Knights. We had 18,000 fans on Monday night at T-Mobile Arena. This fall, we're going to fill up Allegiant Stadium every game. They've announced 5 events. All 5 have sold out, flat out, full stop. And so, no, I see sports betting as a way for engagement. I don't see it as a negative. I see it as a positive in the long run, and the short run for that matter.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess kind of as follow-up, does this, and it seemed like you answered this already, but does it put even more of a need for, I guess, bigger events at a resort, more stock in residencies? You mentioned the resort going up the street that happened to lure Celine Dion, as well as a couple of others away for residencies under one roof. Is that going to be even more important to kind of lure people into Vegas?
Yeah, I think we've managed successfully to raise the bar. We're talking about the Super Bowl. We're talking about the national championship game. We're talking about the Final Four. We're talking about Celine. We have Gaga and Bruno Mars. We're targeting 2 other mega stars for all of that. And so the bar keeps raising, the experience keeps raising. And so I think it's all affirmative. There's a lot of competition, to be straightforward about it. Big believer that if we raise the bar high enough, all of us float much better. We own 9 resorts in this one community, and the advent, I think, of resorts and people coming to Celine on a consistent basis just helps us all. Particularly when you own literally half of the Las Vegas Boulevard. And so, they're not all, the average visitor visits 5 other places. That, good news, bad news. For us, they go to the other ones as well, but that's what they do. And so to the extent visitation is attracted by their offering, they've got 4 megastars down there as well. I think it's additive to all of us.
Great. I wanted to take a little bit of time to look outside of Vegas. I mean, Las Vegas Sands leaving its namesake city to focus on Asia, at least for the time being. I mean, how do you view Asia for your own expansion or growth plans in the years ahead?
Look, really important. I mean, what happens in Vegas impacts our company too much still. So we're looking to diversify both into digital and into Asia. Those are really, if you said, what are the growth benchmarks and where do you want to go? It's really into digital gaming and other opportunities where the convergence of gaming and entertainment combined, but it's digital platforms and it's Asia. It's critical that we get our license renewed whenever the programming is identified in Macau. As of right now, it's supposedly by June of next year, we're supposed to be told, what's to be had going forward. Understand it's probably going to be delayed, but we don't know that factually yet, but assuming so. And the other important piece for us is Japan. We've spent the better part of now 7 years pursuing an integrated resort at scale in Japan. We love the marketplace. We've identified Osaka as a landing zone. We've partnered with Oryx, which is a major company stationed in Osaka, but in Japan. And they've become our partner there. We're the lone standing candidate in an RFP process there. And it's hard to believe, although anything is possible, that Osaka won't end up with a license that ultimately we can't get. But it's a long journey. We've been in this almost 7 years. It'll probably be another 5 or 6 years before an integrated resort would open at scale, but it will be meaningful to the company. Go back to your reference to LVS, think what Singapore did to Sands, it could do for us. And so expanding the footprint and the brand, and we think MGM's brand is very relevant there. We've studied it enough to understand it. And we think the type of entertainment program we can bring to a place like Osaka is also meaningful. And so we're excited. Time to tell. It's probably this time next year before the national government opines. But we hope to be there, ready and willing to go.
It's very exciting to hear. I did want to, while we have a little bit of time left, I want to get into some of what the pandemic's legacy might be for your company and then just the broader hospitality sector. I mean, hotels were moving towards pretty major sustainability initiatives ahead of the pandemic, and suddenly the health crisis hits, and unfortunately, a lot of people are back to single-use plastics. How can a company like yours hold on to issues of sustainability and social impact during a downturn like the pandemic, which is when people honestly expect initiatives like that to kind of get scuttled in favor of just sort of the quest for survival?
Well, I think at its core, fundamentally, again, is a fortress balance sheet. And we've been fortunate in that respect because it's enabled us to continue to do some things. We had benchmark reducing our carbon footprint as a key benchmark between now and 2030. And so we have gone out and contracted, and this was ongoing all through COVID. It was a push through COVID, but we're going to literally cut the ribbon next week on a solar plant. It's about 25 miles north of here. It sits on almost 700 acres, and it will power 90% of our daytime power, 90%. We have 68 million square feet of space here in Las Vegas alone. It will be one of the largest arrays of its kind, servicing a private company of its kind anywhere in the world. And we're proud of it. We're proud of the activity we've done to date. We're proud of that. And so we've continued to push down the road, if you will, as we reconstituted the company and brought it back to, quote, life, if you will, in terms of the culture, diversity and inclusion, a lot of the social programming and issues that have impacted the country of note. We're taking into consideration of how we thought about our people, how we think about our business, how we think about even our customers as we move forward. And so we took all of that on board. And so, between diversity and inclusion, a lot of the social programming and issues surrounding our company and our customers of note, generally, we were fortunate Las Vegas avoided many of the activities and some of the scenes you've seen in other places. But we're not, we're very focused on it as an organization because we are in so many places. And then I think the thing we're most proud of this year is, despite all of this, literally we're going to open something very special in 10 days here in the context of the solar array that, when you think about Las Vegas and think about power, you think about 90% of it's going to be serviced by a solar array. It's going to go a long, long way in reducing our carbon footprint here.
Excellent. Just what we like to hear. As far as the guest experience, I mean, we've seen all sorts of moves within the greater hotel industry, contactless check-in, health and safety initiatives, reimagining the buffet experience. I know that's a big one in Vegas. So, I mean, what ultimately out of all these shifts is going to be sort of the lasting thing that a guest at one of your properties is experiencing 5 years from now?
The move to mobile, without a doubt. I mean, we literally put with something with a project that was taking years, we finally got done in 3 months because we had to get it done. And so mobile check-in that serves as your room key, that serves as your, you go up to a stand now if there's a line at something and you swipe and it calls you when it's your turn to go in. And then if you think about all that, the ability to contact and stay connected to a customer through their mobile device takes a big place. And Bellagio is 4,000 rooms. And so despite its nature and its 5-star desire for service, it's a lot of people. And so the ability to take mobile and minimize the impact of volume is critical. And so you can check in the moment you land and your room key's in your hand. You can avoid all of that and go right to your room. You can buzz down for reservation. You can buzz down for a cabana. And so it's basically a mobile concierge, if you will. And at varying levels, we've begun to program more and more services for our higher tiered customers. And so it's really about connectivity in that context and the digital platform and ultimately the data that it'll provide us to be able to reach our customers and give them what they want or what they're historically used to. And that's a legacy that won't go away. And so, COVID made us do it a whole lot quicker and became a much more important initiative. And it's worked. Almost 40% of our folks now check in on a mobile device. And they never come to the front desk.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's, it's a meaningful, if you've ever checked in on a Friday night at a Las Vegas hotel, it's a meaningful way around that activity.
I'm looking forward to that. At least now.
I wish 80% of our folks did it. We're there. I'd love to have everything mobile and people concierge. How can I help you? We're there to be hospitable, not to check you in. I want to get you in. It's a process we want to avoid. I want to quickly get you what you want and need. And be there for how can I help you, not how can I get you into your guest room. And so that will be without a doubt the digital legacy of COVID in the last couple of years or last year.
Great. Well, we like to end things on a high note or at least an optimistic one. So, I mean, summer's here. Sounds like Vegas is bouncing back very quickly. What makes you hopeful as travel's coming back? And I mean, how do you balance maybe the near-term shifts in demand to your own long-term goals for the company?
Enthusiasm for the product and the destination, the environment. We put a concert on sale for next April. It sold out in 17 minutes. Billie Eilish sold out in 17 minutes. We put all over the spectrum. We put a BYU football game on December 10th at Allegiant Stadium, sold 50,000 tickets in 2 days. So the appetite for the destination, the appetite for the product continues to make us very encouraged. One never knows when you go through a crisis like this, how will this rebound? How quickly will it rebound? The answer is quickly. The answer is with real velocity. And I think it's sustaining. I think, for a lot of folks, particularly when it comes to leisure, spending money and places to go and see and experience life, Las Vegas offers something that's a great escape that I think they're going to continue to want to do. And we're excited about what we've seen over the last 90 days. I'm more excited about what I see for the next 90 days. And I think, when we started this conversation is we begin to more normalize and our group business returns, international travel again begins to pick up. I think we'll see ourselves at a much better plateau and a much different place, and one that we're really encouraged by, not only here in Las Vegas, but across our environment and across our system. People got exposed because gaming was one of the few things that was open to do to something that they had never done. And the demographic of our customers has shifted younger. And I'm really excited by that because I was worried about that historically over time. And I've seen a demographic shift to younger through at least COVID and coming out of this. And so time to tell what it all means in the long run, but it's positive, and I feel very good about all of it.
Excellent. Well, Bill, I'm getting pinged that our time is up, so I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us today, and hope we can have you back sometime soon.
Yeah, Cameron, anytime. Appreciate it.
Thank you.